In the morning of Sunday, April 6th, as I was about to prepare breakfast for my family, picking items from a fridge really packed to the brim, my colleagues and I received an email from Khartoum in Sudan. Dear ChangemakerXchange team, it said, I'm writing to share some terrible news with you. Our friend and fellow community member Walid has tragically passed away. We later learned that he was abducted by the Rapid Support Forces, abused and tortured, deprived of food and water for 6 months. He was eventually rescued, but he was too weak to recover. He was murdered, not because he joined the fighting, but because he stood by his conviction, believing in a better Sudan at a time when his beautiful country that I know he was so incredibly proud of is going through a largely overlooked humanitarian crisis affecting millions. He stayed, even though he could have left, continuing his work as one of the country's most beloved young entrepreneurs, advocates, activists, and builders of the local startup scene. Please allow me to dedicate the next few minutes to Walid, as well as the uncountable number of activists, groups, changemakers, and movements out there who, despite often being affected most by the world's issues, continue to have hope, and who, despite the extreme financial hardship that they go through, the strain on their mental health, and often even the risk to their lives, continue to build a better world and continue to believe that it is possible that we're all going to have a better future. These catalysts for change, they do not doubt for one moment that biodiversity can be restored, like the team at Reefs, whose modular clay-based systems, scientifically proven, brings back corals and marine life. They can envision a future where every member of the LGBTQI+ community has their full human rights and their full mental health, like the team at Voda, a queer-led mental well-being app and ecosystem. They restore the mangrove forests along the Kenyan coast. They work towards banning single plastic use in Egypt like Banelastic. They preserve indigenous knowledge in Brazil like Melibis. They can envision a workplace of the future that is fully inclusive, like the team Virtualahan in the Philippines, who've brought thousands of neurodiverse and disabled people into meaningful employment. They can envision a future where nobody is hungry, like Food for All Africa, started by a local young chef and a group of local youth, now one of West Africa's largest food banks by Africans for Africans. They can see a Ukraine without war. They can see a free and peaceful Palestine and a peaceful region. They can see a free and peaceful Sudan and a peaceful world, and they have absolutely no intention to stopping before they get there. Now, we all know the challenges that we face, humanity is facing, have indeed never seemed greater. But to be honest, who are we, including myself, in this room with all our privilege, all our reach, all our resource, and all our access to be the ones to despair and get disillusioned and be paralyzed when they're out there fighting for a better world for all of us? Now certainly is not the time to call quits or to blame complexity for our complacency. Again, something that I myself am personally very guilty of as well sometimes. Now is the time to double down. And there is so much that all of us together can do. Let us amplify the voices of those without the same reach that we may have. Let's turn our LinkedIn feeds, our websites, and our social media channels into windows for their solutions. Let's be a megaphone for those without one. Because if you think about it, they show us every day that this dominant collective current narrative of a world where things are too late and cannot be fixed anymore is in fact a lie. And instead, they write the story of a planet that can heal and that can recover, and of a world that's kinder, more caring, and more human. All they need from us is a bigger pen. Now, I know many of us here in this room and in philanthropy, we work so hard, and we care so deeply, and we give so much, but now is not the time to give less, but it is the time to give more. Consider, and we've spoken about it this past few days, consider unrestricting your grants. Consider trust building with those organizations and then giving money to the purpose, not to the projects of an organization. Consider at least spending down part of your endowment that is locked up in some ETF while the world is burning and fascists keep entering our parliaments. Now is the time. Consider cutting the time it takes for you to decide on your grants in half, and then try, and I know this is difficult, but try and cut it in half again. Your board meets 4 times a year. Try and have it meet when it's most needed. And so, really, their solutions cannot wait. And there is much talk of a new kind of leadership in philanthropy, in business, and in politics. But the real leaders, really, I believe, are the people out there putting everything on the line. The kid in the Kibera slums, the kid in South London or in the Bronx who dream of a better future and built it, the refugee who's lost everything and now creates opportunities for everyone, the journalists in Myanmar who were thrown into jail and now empower journalists in exile everywhere, the young activist who is facing jail time for protecting and demonstrating the destruction of our only shared planet, the young changemaker who sits at home and is broke and burning out but keeps going. They are the real leaders. Let us be their followers. And so I think the greatest service of us to the world right now is to get out of the way and be of their service. Thank you very much.